Welcome in. It's almost time.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome into the Sports Hounds exclusively on A2D I'm Rob Brinkman. He's Brad Ryer. Doug Mientkiewicz will be back next week. He's still picking the team for Team USA for the World Championships coming up in March. We got a lot to talk about tonight. We got baseball. We got some Sixers NBA talk. We got the hockey draft in the books.
Hockey free agency.
Free agency. We got football just around the corner. We'll be getting into that soon. It's amazing that training camp are just a few weeks away. Remember, hit the like, hit the subscribe, turn those notifications on. Don't miss anything here on A2D Radio. We're streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. Miss anything here at A2D Radio? Download us wherever you get your podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and iTunes. Each and every week, we're brought to you by Philly Sports Trips, the Philadelphia 5for5 sports travel company, premium travel and tailgating experience for the passionate fans of Philadelphia. Go to phillysportstrips.com, sign up. 4 Eagles trips coming up this year. Should be an exciting fall. Also brought to you by Baguio's Breads, located in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, home of the best stuffed breads, tomato pies, sandwiches, cutlets, and meatballs. Mention A2D Radio for 10% off your in-store purchase. All right, Brad. So we started to get into it at the end of last week, and I just couldn't do it. I guess I'm sort of ready to look at the wreckage that is the Philadelphia 76ers. Finally, we got our poll question of the night. The Sixers should trade for Dame Lillard. Dame Lillard finally asked Portland for a trade. Sixers named as one of the suitors. Obviously, an ideal world, Brad, I would just trade James Harden for Dame Lillard. Just
straight up.
Up.
That would be a great trade for you guys.
James Harden's a loser. I don't want him on the team. So if I have to trade,
one thing Harden, I would say about Lillard, he can definitely play defense, which James doesn't like to do apparently.
No, James isn't a winning player. He's never been a winning player. Neither is Dame. But I think
Dame hasn't had the team that Harden's had some great teams that he's played with.
So I think look, you have this team here in Philadelphia. It's just mired in mediocrity. They're never going to get over the hump. They're never going to beat the Celtics as constructed. I'm sick of seeing Tobias Harris on the team. I'm sick of seeing James Harden on the team. Like, you got to shuffle the deck somehow, some way. And if you can get your hands on Dame Lillard, I think you have to do it for this team. I don't know, because like all these rumors are just spread that like they're going to trade James Harden for like 3 role players. Like, that would be terrible. You need stars.
I've heard that they don't want that. He's not going to right now. At least he's not going to accept 3 role players for him.
Well, I mean,
he'd be best. Listen, I think the best thing for him and the Sixers is to let him play him until the trade deadline and then trade him. And you'll get more for him at that point. You know, somebody on some team, Rob, is going to get hurt. Okay, a contender, it happens every year. Somebody's going to get hurt, and they're desperately going to be needing somebody, and that's when the Sixers can get rid of them and pick themselves up a zillion draft picks and get the guys they want.
But I don't want draft picks.
Well, in the NBA, you have to trade. Don't you have to trade money?
You have to trade money. You do. But like, what do I need? We spent 10 years in Philadelphia worrying about draft picks and money and getting the most draft picks we could. And it didn't work. They're not good. They failed. The process failed.
They didn't do a good job drafting. That was the problem.
Well, no, they took 3 centers and 2 head case guards.
Yeah.
And the one guy that they picked that could have helped a lot, they traded him for Zaire Smith. And that's Mikal Bridges.
That was a bad trade.
That was an awful trade.
Yeah, that trade made no sense.
So really, I'm just getting role players and a bunch of draft picks for James Harden, and I'm just doing the whole process over again. That sounds awful.
I don't know. I mean, the problem is, I don't think anybody. I think everybody is figuring that, he has to trade him, and I think at this point, patience might be a virtue right now. At least wait till August. You know what I'm saying? At least give it a chance. Let the market start brewing up, and see how much interest there is. There's somebody that's dumb enough to take him. I just hope it's not my Knicks. It doesn't sound like they're interested in him or Lillard right now.
They shouldn't be.
No, they shouldn't. They don't.
James Harden doesn't put the Knicks over the top.
No, neither does Lillard. I mean, the Knicks already have a good point guard. What do they need him for? To me, he's not. It wouldn't make sense. They got a good young team. The last thing they need is to bring in a $40 million player, which is what they used to do all the time, and you see where it's gotten them the last 20 years. Okay, I mean, we could name guys and go on and on and on and on. Okay, with the Knicks, all the stars that they get, and they end up trading everybody else, and then they have nobody except the one star that is always over the hill. I mean, can we stop with the Carmelo Anthony thing? Just keep repeating our same mistakes over and over. Hopefully that doesn't happen.
The Knicks are so you just want the Knicks to develop their young players,
yes,
and hopefully you turn it
next year.
Hopefully you turn into the Celtics.
And listen, at the end of this season, they're going to be 40. They're going to have about $40 million in cap space to play with. Okay. And that's when you go ahead and you sign a free agent if you can, or you try to bring in a big star, because you're going to have the money to fit one in. And I think that's what I would do, and I would try to keep developing these young players. I mean, they've got a bunch of good young players on their team right now.
Pascal
Siakam. Would you trade quickly? I compare Quickly to Maxey because I think they're the same player. I think Quickly might actually be a little bit better because he's a better defensive player than Maxey. Would you trade Maxey for no way you would trade Maxey for Lillard? And the Knicks should be trading Quickly plus God knows what else they'd want for Lillard. I wouldn't do that. No way.
I mean, I don't think Tyrese Maxey is this untouchable, untradeable piece that everyone's making him out to be.
Yeah, but you know what? He could be. But here's the thing, Rob. He's still really young. He could end up being a superstar. He's that good. I mean, he's got that much talent.
Superstar?
Well, be a top player. Be one of the top 5 guards in the NBA. He's got the ability. Defense is, Doug said it, and it's true. Defense is something that you have to want to do. And if these guys really want to play defense, they can. They're all great athletes. They just have to put their minds to it. But if I'm the Sixers, I wouldn't be trading that guy. If they could somehow get rid of somebody else that's useless, that's making $37 million. I'm not going to mention any names, of course. But you know what I'm talking about.
There's Jason A-Team, #Eagles.
Yes. Hello, Jason.
Maxey's
Thanks
untouchable.
For joining us.
Like, untouchable? Really? No one in sports is untouchable.
He's not untouchable, but unless you're getting somebody that you really, you can't be getting. Let's put it this way: you can't trade for a 32-year-old point guard to be the leader of your team and trade a really good young player like Maxey. That's not what you want to do.
But Brad, Maxey can't cover the other team's 2 guard.
Okay, but if you bring in Lillard, Maxey can cover the point guard, and Lillard could cover the 2 guard. You just have to find a way to find out who they want besides Embiid.
I mean, you have Harris, you have Maxey, and Harden. I mean, That should be enough to shuffle the deck a little bit here in Philadelphia.
No, if you offer him Harris and a lucrative draft package, they might take it because he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. He's an expiring contract, and Portland could go out and have all this extra money to bring in a couple of quality free agents. That's why I think Harris would be a better answer at least for the Sixers, and I think for Portland. Because Portland's not going anywhere this year. Am I wrong about that?
No.
And if you really want, if you bring in Lillard's a pretty good defensive player. He can go and he can guard whoever's on the perimeter, whichever guard is on the perimeter, and then that takes the pressure off of Maxey having to play defense. Being such a liability defensively, right? I'm just looking at what would be best, I think, for both teams. I mean, you definitely want to trade Harris. That's something you definitely want to do, right? I mean, is there any question about that?
I mean, I guess not.
It just to me that makes too much sense. Why wouldn't you want to do that? I mean, I know there's still the Harden issue, but you could figure out something with Harden.
But does Tobias and Maxey get me Lillard, or is that too much?
No, I'm thinking Tobias by himself and a couple of draft picks should do it. I think Portland would be great for Portland to do that, because then Portland could get a couple of extra draft picks, plus they could have a $37 million player on a contract that's expiring at the end of the season, and they can go out and they can bring in somebody.
Well, what's the point of that for Portland? No one's coming to Portland.
Yeah, money still talks, though, Rob.
They've had Dame Lillard for, 12 years? No one's come. They've tried all these different combinations to try and win something, and it doesn't work. They're not good enough.
No, but I mean, look, I don't know.
No one wants to go to Portland. That's why Dame finally realized that, and it's like, all right, get me out of here.
Yeah, that's unfortunate if that's the case. But they'll have a lot of money to spend. I don't know that they have the money to spend right now. I don't really know what their cash and cap situation is. As far as fitting somebody under the cap. That's why I'm thinking it might be better for them if they took Harris, and then they could at least have money under the cap. I mean, that's a lot of cap space.
Trying to bring up the free agents here. Not a good. Yeah. It wasn't a good free agent class.
Not this year. I mean, I have no idea who's available next year. I got to look that up.
Next year, I just had it up. DeJounte Murray, Tobias Harris. Yeah, I'll bring it up again.
Okay.
So this is Pascal Siakam, DeJounte Murray, Buddy Hield, Jaylen Brown, Tobias Harris, Klay Thompson. Then you get down to the role players: Fultz, Marcus Morris, Joe Harris, Gordon Hayward, who's old. It's tough. It's tough with the Sixers. It's really tough.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm looking at the list right now, and there's a couple of guys that would fit in really well. I'll tell you.
John Kessler, he agrees with me. I don't understand how Maxey's untouchable. Absolutely untouchable. No possible way you trade Tyrese Maxey. And I like him. He hustles. He's young. I liked him at Kentucky. But to say he's off limits, I think that's crazy. Everything should be on the table for this team to try and improve and actually get to an Eastern Conference Finals.
Well, what about picking up what about trading? If you're going to trade Harden, maybe you could trade Harden to the Bulls and get DeRozan and Levine back.
Yeah, I mean, those are
DeRozan would be a nice DeRozan would be a nice, really nice pickup for you because you could definitely use another shooter, and you know, that would be a nice. I think that would really work well for you guys.
Well, any somewhat fair trade that gets James Harden off this team, like, I'm all for it.
I think that's a fair trade, don't you?
Yeah, but like I'm not trading James Harden, even though I hate him. I think he's a stone mutt, just like most of everyone on the Sixers is. Like I'm not trading him for Robert Covington, Markieff Morris, and some other role player.
No,
that
but I mean,
make me better as a basketball player.
But it sounds like Levine wants out, right? I mean, supposedly he wants out of Chicago. He would come to Philly. I think he would definitely come to Philly. You get him, and DeRozan, and I think that would definitely fill in the money, and they get James. I mean, that at least they have somebody who can put the ball in the basket.
Good luck. I mean,
listen. I'm just throwing stuff out there that might be that might work.
Cyberdale, Coyote, only trading Maxey for a young superstar. Like, what's a young superstar?
Oh, maybe Jalen Brunson, but that's not going to happen.
Like, Jalen Brunson's way better than Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah, he is.
Like, why would
the Knicks would never do that.
Like Shea Gregorius-Alexander on Oklahoma City, he's way better than Tyrese Maxey.
No, you're
Maxey's nice. Like, don't get me wrong, but like, he's not some untouchable. He's not some untouchable trade piece, especially when all I do is disappoint here in Philadelphia. Like, something's got to change. Like, you can't just have the same roster next year and tell me and all the other fans that it's going to be different.
No, if you don't do anything to change things, it's going to be the same thing.
Like, and now Morey's just going to dig his heels in on Harden because I don't know what James Harden's deal is. First off, I don't understand this James Harden situation like at all. He's like feels disrespected because like why? Because he's not what he used to be.
I mean, he's lost a step, and I think he knows he's lost a step.
Well, why is he being like this then? Why is he being get me out of here and being upset?
Well, they brought in Pat Beverley, right?
They did bring in Patrick Beverley. I like that. Isn't
he supposed to be like one of his buddies? I mean, I've heard that those two are buddies. Maybe.
Well, they played together. I guess they were on Houston together. I think.
I've heard that they're pretty good buddies. Maybe, maybe they brought him in maybe to try to quell the waters with James. I mean, maybe that's it. First of all, I think that was a good move for them to bring him in because the guy can play defense.
Yeah, and he's not a pussy.
No, and he can definitely play backup point guard when they want to rest Maxey.
You got two guys coming off the bench that I like them as bench players with D'Anthony Melton and Patrick Beverley. Yeah,
Beverley is tough, and he can play defense. He's also a very annoying player too. I mean, why not?
Well, I love the Pat Beverley stuff, but like
I thought that was a really smart. I thought that was a smart move, and you didn't really spend a lot of money to get him.
But like, if the Sixers had Patrick Beverley last year, would they have beaten the Celtics? No.
Well, but it wouldn't have hurt. They could have. I mean, I think he would have done a better job guarding Tatum than anybody else on the team did. I mean, at least he would have gotten in his face, and annoyed him a little bit. I mean, he was kind of like, he could have had a cup of coffee with all the time he had taken some of those shots in Game 7. I mean, nobody was guarding him. I don't know if he alone could turn their fortunes. I mean, especially if the Heat end up getting Lillard. I mean, I don't know if they will or not, but
MC Sports, Maxey is better than Quickly. Are you sure?
Explain that. Explain how he's better than Quickly.
I'm not sure about that.
I'm not sure about that at all.
I think they're both good young players, but
yeah, I think they're pretty. One thing Quickly can do that Maxey can't do is play a lot better defense. He's a good defensive player. Thibodeau was bringing him in last year and taking out Brunson in key defensive moments in Knick games last year. I never saw anybody have Maxey out there playing defense in late in the fourth quarter. You know, Quickly can shoot just as well as Maxey. He's a good player. I think he's going to end up being a little
more. Maxey's a little more. He's got a quicker first step. He's a little more explosive.
Okay, but I think
if you weigh out all the pros and cons of each player, it's pretty damn close.
Yeah, very close.
I know Sixers. It's like blasphemous for Sixers fans to like talk shit on Tyrese Maxey. It's like everyone's just under the assumption that he's going to sign a max contract someday, and I thought he was too coming out of the draft.
And he still he still might. He's a very good player. I mean, I don't think there's any. There's not. It's not like that's not the case. And the question is, you know, will Maxey end up being like a top 5 guard in the NBA within the next couple of years? Because I mean, you hate to give up on a player with the talent he has. That's the only problem. I'm just wondering who Portland would want from the six. If Portland wanted trades Lillard to the Sixers, they're gonna want Maxey. I mean, if I were them, that's who I'd be asking for.
Look, I would do it. I think
either that or give me Harris so that I can have.
I think it's a serious. Contract. I don't know if I would do it. But the fact that you're not even like some Sixers fans just aren't even going to discuss including Maxey in a Dame Lillard trade, I think that's silly.
You have to think about it.
You have to think about it.
You have to you have to think.
I was an advocate for trading. When Durant was on the table, maybe not. Who knows what really happened? Like I was a big advocate. I would have traded Tyrese Maxey in a deal for Kevin Durant. It's Kevin Durant.
Well, Kevin Durant is different.
Kevin Durant
is a lot better player than
Dame Lillard's pretty fire, man.
I know, but I mean he's obviously a better player. Plus he's 7 feet tall.
I hear you.
You know, the only thing I'd be worried about with him is that he's always getting hurt.
Crystal Hayes, Queen of Loyalty. I think about it like this. Tobias is the 76ers Carson Wentz. When you get rid of him, you win a championship. I mean, I don't know if that's fair. Look, Tobias tries his best, and he has a skill set, and he's pretty good. He just makes way too much money. He's the highest paid player on the Sixers.
Yeah, that's more of an issue than anything else. I mean, he's a good player. You know, right? He's a third wheel. He could be a good second wheel on a lesser team. You know, he just does. I mean, I think he probably. Let me guess. When Embiid doesn't play, he probably scores a lot more points, right? Like, does he play better when Embiid's not in there?
Tobias plays. I don't know. I would imagine Tobias would score more without showing.
So you put him on a team that, like, if he was playing with, say, Minnesota, okay, if you put him with Minnesota, and then he'd be a one. He'd be good there too. I just don't know whom you know the Sixers are looking at who they would want to get. I mean, it's tough. They're kind of in a tough spot with both these guys. Now, I would think Harris is a guy that you might be able to get a lot for because of the expiring contract situation, especially at the trade deadline.
There's another one. Disagree if it takes Matsy. I'm not trading a future All-Star for a 33-year-old.
Here's the problem. By the time
Maxi's a future All-Star? Really?
Joseph,
it's hard to make the All-Stars in the NBA.
Here's my argument, okay? When's Maxey going to be an All-Star? Is he going to be an All-Star while Embiid is still in his prime, or is it going to be when Embiid is, kind of basically, dead, being
my answer's after.
Dead.
Just why he's not untouchable.
Yeah, that's my point. Because if you're looking at the timeline, yeah, he might be a superstar in 3 or 4 years, but I don't think Embiid is going to be a superstar in 3 or 4 years. I think he's gonna start showing his age probably in 2. I mean, I think maybe this year he's still going to be a great player, but you know what? After this year, I don't know. The guy's got a lot of mileage on him, and he's had a lot of injuries. How long do you think he's going to last? What's the timeline for Maxey being an All-Star? What, in 3 or 4 years? Does Embiid have 3 or 4 good years left in him?
My answer is no.
Well, if you think the answer is no, then you make the trade. If you think the answer is yes, then you don't make the trade. And again, our thoughts don't count here. It's what so Brand, I guess, and Morey think they want to do. And as far as John Castiglione, James feels disrespected because the Sixers didn't negotiate with him. Listen, he's making $50 million a year. Why would he feel any kind of disrespect whatsoever?
They didn't negotiate with him. He opted in. There's nothing to negotiate.
Exactly.
He could have opted out and forced the Sixers to pay him a bunch of money on the Supermax, whatever it is, $50 million. I'm sure he's eligible for the $50 million Supermax.
Yeah, and you know what the other thing is? He would have had the Sixers boxed in, and they would have had and if they didn't give it to him, he could have left, and they could have gotten nothing for him. So I don't get why he's all upset. He shouldn't be. That's ridiculous. Yeah, I just have a feeling that cooler heads are going to prevail with him, and he's going to end up, part of it is, Beverley being there, but I think he's going to calm down, and he's going to calm down, and he'll come to his senses and he'll play.
Harden was promised the max this offseason after he took a pay cut last year, but after the no-show in Game 7, Sixers balked.
Well, he had that coming. He deserved that.
But he opted in.
Right. He could have gone anywhere he wanted.
All the power out of the Sixers' hands by opting in.
Right. So if he's pissed off because of it, he shouldn't have opted in. But the bottom line is nobody was going to pay him $50 million a year.
I bet someone would. If he hit the open market, someone would give him $50 million.
Really? You think so?
Yeah.
For what, 4 years?
There's a lot of bad organizations in the NBA. Sixers are one of them, in my opinion.
I guess so.
You have Charlotte and just nonsense things like that. Clippers.
Well,
always.
I've heard that the Clippers may have offered the best package for Harden. What exactly did they offer him?
I don't know. There was Paul George rumors, and the Clippers said no. There's obviously the Kawhi Leonard stuff because Nick Nurse is now the Sixers coach. They did great things together in Toronto. They hit the shot on the Sixers in 2019, and they won a championship. So one would assume that, Nick Nurse and Kawhi Leonard jive pretty good. So that's a possibility.
Now, how old is Leonard now?
Kawhi, he's always hurt.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's another one. I mean, you can't put him on the Sixers. Between him and Embiid, they'll end up missing half the season between those two. And then you take the same chance you take every year that they may not be healthy in the playoffs. You can't do that.
But, I mean, so now you're just here. I have his stats right here. He did he played 52 games last year.
Out of 80. 80
That's
out of
more than
82.
I thought. So that's what? That's like what?
That's 5 out of every 8 games.
So that's not bad.
Now, was it because of maintenance or was he getting hurt a lot? Maybe
Probably
both.
maintenance. Probably maintenance. I would assume maintenance. But, I mean, so he missed 2021 with the ACL. And he only played 9 games in, what's that, 2018. Then he's up 60, 57, 52, 52 again last year. I don't know. Harden for Kawhi?
And for the most part, Harden at least stays healthy. He had that hamstring issue a couple of years ago, which dogged him for a while, but he seemed to have gotten over that.
MC Sports, he's a Knicks fan. He'd rather have Maxey than Quickly any day. Bob Brinkman, I don't think Maxey shoots consistently now. Do you really want Lillard for 7 more years? I don't want him after 35, but I love him, but not in the last 4 years. Joseph Rakowski, if Embiid couldn't get past the second round with Harden and Toby or Ben and Jimmy, he isn't going to do any better with Dame and a bunch of nobodies. Embiid is a big game loser. Hate to say it, JoJo, but never at his best when the Sixers need him to be at his best. I'm over Embiid, too. I'm over the whole team. And now I've backed myself into a corner, Brad, because I've already said a bunch of times that I'm not watching any Sixers game if James Harden's on the team. So, it's like you can't be the fan that bitches and moans that they need to fire the coach and then also bitch about the replacement coach after they fire the guy that you hated. You can't do both.
No, you can't.
Right? Because then you just sound like a miserable grump and you have no credibility at all. So, yeah, I want to trade Harden, but some of these – let me bring up some of the ridiculous – Bobby Marks was on – he's the cap guy on ESPN. And he had a couple graphs about trades that would work with the money. And they were just awful. I don't want Robert Covington back.
No, why would you want him back?
This is from Bleacher Report. Extremely high asking price for James Harden.
Well, why shouldn't he have a high asking price for him?
Yeah, I mean, you can add if you're the Sixers, you can ask.
You can ask for anything you want.
So the Sixers said Brian Windhorst.
He's going to give you 20, and he's going to give you 20. He's going to give you 20 points. He's going to give you 10 assists. He may not do it, during the season. He may not necessarily do it in the playoffs after the first round. But I mean, he'll still help you get there. A team like Indiana, you're telling me that a team like that couldn't use him? I mean, I don't know. I'm just throwing teams out there that they could use him.
They're in a pickle. they're in a pickle with this guy. Adrian Wojnarowski reported Sunday on SportsCenter that Philadelphia is even looking into whether it can involve itself in the Dame Lillard's exit from Portland. After reportedly requested his own trade, Lillard may not wind up with the Sixers, but Harden would nonetheless be included in a sprawling trade. So basically, Morey's digging his heels in. He's not going to give him up for less than he thinks. And then they're going to have the same exact team next year. And that's going to be that. They're going to lose to the Celtics again. Greg Milakovic in the house. He disagrees with the poll. So he's out on Dame Lillard. So it's either trade for Dame Lillard, it seems like, or look, it seems like there's three options for the Sixers. A, trade Harden for Dame.
I don't know that Portland would do that, though.
B, trade James Harden for a bunch of trash role players, which I don't want to do at all, even though I hate James. Or C is just run it back.
I mean, in that case, I would run it back, and maybe Beverley can be the difference in one game, where he could clamp down on certain players, and help that way. I don't know if he's a difference maker, but he can play defense, and he is kind of a disruptor out there. I mean, I think he'd be pretty good.
There's Philly Sports Hustle. I'm actually a shooting guard that's too short, and you can match another guard his size to be his running mate. At this point, Sixers would get killed every night.
I think he means defensively. I mean, that really is the problem for them right now.
Yeah, MC Sports. Harden would be signed already if a team really wanted him. Harden signed with the Sixers.
He's already signed.
He opted in.
Yeah, he's already signed.
He should have opted out and forced the Sixers to make a decision for all their chips.
Yeah, but he didn't want to lose that $50 million.
Contract.
Now, he opted in. How long is his contract? 1 year, right?
One.
1 year for 1 year, $50 million. So, I mean, he'd be a free agent next year anyway.
So he's going to get $32 million next year, include a player option this coming season. Harden is 10-time All-Star, but essentially forced his way with trades out of Houston and Brooklyn.
Yeah, it's a pattern of behavior with him.
So, yeah, 2 year. So he got a 2 year, $32 million a year deal that he opted into the second year.
So he gets $50 million this year, and then 2 years of $32 million each.
Right. So this is the second year of $32 million, which he opted into.
Okay, so he's not making $50 million this year. He's making $32 million now, and he feels like somehow he's disrespected because he's only making $32 million.
But all he had to do was opt out.
Yeah, well. You know what? Doesn't he listen to...
Maybe he opted out, unless he maybe opted in to like make it easier to trade because he doesn't want to be here anymore.
It doesn't seem to make sense.
I don't understand. Why wouldn't you just opt out and get your max?
Yeah, that's what he really wanted. If he gets traded, if he gets traded, he's not going to make any more money.
Right. So John has it right here. It's
1 year, 35 million.
32 mil, whatever it works out to be. And then
got it.
I'm assuming he would be a free agent next year.
Okay.
I was hoping the Golden State Warriors were going to rebuild. Clay or Wiggins would have been nice on the Sixers, but with the Golden State Warriors signing Draymond to that big deal, it looks like Golden State Warriors are trying to go for another try and run it back again.
Oh yeah, they're definitely going to try to do that.
Well, I thought the Warriors, I thought they did a bad job re-signing Draymond over Jordan Poole. So
yeah,
they traded
Draymond's
Jordan.
been part of the team for a long time. I guess they wanted to keep him.
I get that, but I don't think Draymond is what he is. What he is 3 years ago.
No, I mean,
When they were
listen,
really,
that team is
dominating and winning titles.
that team is old now. I mean, they're not even.
And I get it.
Anymore.
I mean, you got a guard in Jordan Poole that can just straight go. I think Jordan Poole is really good, and you trade him away to the Houston, not the Washington Wizards, and you pay Draymond. I don't know. I think they should have paid Jordan Poole and traded Draymond. Well, I'm always going to take the guard, so we'll see how it works out. And then you have that idiot Chris Paul, my favorite.
Oh yeah, you love him. I forgot how much you love. Now, is he playing on the Warriors now?
Yes.
So he's officially with the Warriors now.
Yes.
Let's see. So he can choke again with the Warriors now.
I would rather have Jordan Poole than Chris Paul for next year. I know I get on Chris Paul because he doesn't have a clutch bone in his body, but I mean, Chris Paul in his prime, way better than Jordan Poole. But Jordan Poole next year versus Chris Paul next year, I think the Warriors, I think they made a bad choice. Just like the Celtics. The Celtics got worse too. They traded Marcus Smart, the heart and soul of their team, the backbone, the toughness of their team.
Yeah, for Porzingis, who's always hurt.
Kristaps Porzingis, who's never healthy.
No, he's always hurt.
So I don't.
I will say this: when Porzingis is healthy, okay, he can be a dynamic player. But how often is he healthy?
But you got to be on the court.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that's always been his problem. That's why the Knicks ended up letting him. Well, that plus his brother, who was his agent, was giving them such a hard time.
Jermaine on YouTube, Dame clearly said he wants to play for the Heat. Yeah, he's trying to force his way to Miami, but Dame Lillard doesn't have a no trade clause. Dame Lillard cannot dictate where he go. Now, look,
they might try to facilitate him because the organization
to trade him and get him out of your building when he doesn't want to be there.
But right, and Dame
Lillard's not calling the shots here. Yeah, okay, cool. You want to trade Dame? Like, you're not necessarily going to the Heat. He didn't have a no trade clause.
No, and the other thing is, it may take a third team for him to end up going to the Heat. They may have to get a third team involved for that.
Well, maybe the Sixers can hop in as the third team and mix things up that way.
Yeah, that's probably the only way. Hey, Don.
Thinking about it, fellas, the Rockets gave Dylan Brooks big money over giving Harden that money. Harden is washed. But they didn't. Like, James Harden chose to be here in Philadelphia. He opted in.
And now he's got hurt feelings. So I mean,
he can go fuck himself with his feelings.
Yeah,
like your feelings are hurt. Really, your feelings are hurt.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Over what?
Who knows? You know what? It's.
How can your feelings be like you played like dog shit when it mattered most, and your feelings are hurt? Why? Because we didn't roll out the red carpet for you because you lost in the second round again? I don't understand why his
and game 6 and game 6 and game 7, he didn't lead them to win. Yeah, really, it wasn't just him. It was Embiid too. Both of them.
Harden needs to go to the Lakers with the rest of the senior citizens.
Yeah.
I was surprised to see Kyrie Irving resign in Dallas.
Yeah, I kind of thought he ruined the team last year.
Kind of. I mean, he showed up and they didn't win a game the whole rest of the time.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah,
they didn't even make the top 10 seeds. They weren't even in the play-in tournament.
No. I mean, that was they of course did lose on purpose at the end to make sure that they would get a top 10 pick, so they wouldn't have to give it to the Knicks. And they're still in the same boat this year. Look, if Kyrie plays, that should be enough.
He's talented. Kyrie Irving can jump.
He's a really good player. He's always bringing some baggage to everywhere he goes. He seems to bring baggage with him.
Luke Mayer, Harden opted in because he wasn't getting that money. He'd get less than that option. I don't think he would, but maybe. If James Harden opted out and hit the open market, yeah, the Sixers could pay him the most, but he would get a lot of money. Someone would pay him a lot of money to be on their team.
Yeah, but would a good team do it?
Well, do you want your money or do you want to win? You kind of got to choose at this point.
Well, if it's James Harden, he's probably taking the money.
He's probably taking the money, which why? Remember a couple weeks ago.
Well, all the power to him if that's what he wants to do.
If that's what you want to do. Cool. That's cool.
You want your money, that's fine. I get it. If he wants,
but he's not a winning. He's not a winning player.
Yeah, no, he's not.
Remember a couple weeks ago, he was like, "Oh, like I might go back to Houston over staying in Philadelphia." I mean, Houston is rebuilding still. The fact that he would take the money and go to a rebuild over winning, like that's kind of where you're at with James Harden.
Well, that's kind of why they kind of want to get rid of him.
Matt Walsh, Kyrie is a locker room cancer. He wears out his welcome with every team he plays for.
That is absolutely true.
How many teams Harden going to play for before he retires? 3 or more? I don't know. He's kind of old.
So what are you saying? The over-under in Max Sports, are you saying the over-under is 3?
I'll take the under on that.
Yeah, I take the under too.
What are our opinions on a Maxey for Dame trade? I'm open to it. I'm open to it. Because of what we said earlier. Maxey's going to be an all-star in 3 years when he's like 26, 27. And then by that time, Joe is done. He's going to be a declining big man.
Who's going to make a lot of money and not give you the results. So, I mean,
these next 3 years are shit or get off the pot time.
Yeah, I mean, for
you have a better chance to win a championship if you have Dame Lillard, James Harden, Tobias Harris, and Embiid than if you have Harden, Maxey, Tobias, and if you sub out Dame Lillard for Tyrese Maxey, you in my opinion, you have a much better chance to win a championship.
I agree.
In the short term,
I agree, and yeah, you're gonna pay the price for it down the line. But you know what?
Then they're all old.
But if you win a championship, you know what?
All bets are off.
Then the fans will be happy. You won your championship. Okay, then you get to rebuild again. You know, but I mean, you want to win a championship. It's not easy to win a championship, and when the window is still open, you've got to do what you can to bust through the window and get it. I mean, you got to try to grab the brass ring while you still have it. while you still have the
Yeah,
ability
because
to do it.
I feel like with Maxey, and like he's promising and he's good.
Oh, he's really good, but he's not going to be if you think he's going to be an all-star, probably in 2-3 probably I'm thinking 3-4 years he's going to be an all-star. Yeah. I think at that point he will be, but you know what? He's not right now. And Dame is. And you know what? If you want to win a championship and you want to win now and you want to try to beat the Celtics, you got to make that move. I mean, you've got to try to win it in the next 2 years because I don't think Embiid, with his body, is going to be able to sustain the greatness that he's shown everybody in 3 more years. I just don't. He's a guy. It's a now. This is a now team. This is not a future team. This is a now team. You got to try to win now.
I mean, Jermaine. I mean, the Blazers wouldn't want Maxey. They just drafted a point guard.
Yeah, but you could make him a 2.
You can never have enough young guards, young athletic guards.
Yeah, who can shoot?
Like,
he could be a 2. You could even he could be a 2.
I think if you get Dame Lillard and your backcourt's Dame Lillard and Harden, like, and that doesn't excite Harden into wanting to stay. Yeah,
I don't know what to. Yeah, I don't know what to tell the Blaze. I don't know what to say what to say about Harden if he wouldn't want to stay if Maxey was there. I'm not Maxey if Dame was there.
Maxey's too small to be a 2. I mean, he's 6'2". He's got to get his weight up a little bit. That would help his defense, I think. But he's 6'2". He's not Allen Iverson out there.
Yeah, I think the Sixers are. I don't think anybody would turn him down. Would turn down Maxey for that because look, when you trade a star like Lillard, you're not going to get an equal return. Nobody gets an equal return for their stars. I don't care what anybody says.
I say this all the time, Brad. The longer they wait, and the longer the Sixers wait with Harden or whatever, Ohtani in baseball, like the longer you wait, the less you're going to get. The teams that do the best job in maximizing their return, they're the trades that nobody sees coming, and they come out of nowhere, and they just come together quick without people on podcasts talking about it and speculating about it, or the internet people with their rumors. Like, teams that do the best in getting the returns when they have to trade a star, like Portland's about to do with Dame, or the Sixers are about to do with James Harden, quick, concise action. Because you sit around and you lose all your leverage. You get less. Is Ryan Swoops in the house joining us? Luke Mayer. Udoku wants a floor general. Fred VanVleet, Green, Brooks, Jabari Smith, Sagan. They traded out Christopher and Martin. Porter Jr. probably go to the bench. Look, the Rockets they're doing well. I like what they're doing a little bit.
Yeah, it's good. They're gonna need some time to develop those players.
Anthony, why trade Maxey? He has a high ceiling where Dame has 2 to 3 years left in the tank. That's exactly our point.
Anthony, that was our point, and that's why. How many years does Harden have left in the?
Because then you're going to right. Because then you're
going
to have.
I'm sorry, Maxey. Embiid. How many years does Embiid have left to play at a high level?
So in 3 years, okay, great. Let's say everybody's right and I'm wrong about Maxey, and he's just this greater-than-life superstar, and he blossoms into the best player in the NBA. That's fantastic in 3 years. Problem is all these old heads like Tobias and James and Embiid, they're going to be gone. And it's going to be Maxey and no one else. So then you're not winning with Maxey as an emerging player, and you're not going to win with Maxey as a superstar. So what's the point of having him? I'm not saying definitely trade him either, but if I got the right offer, he's not untouchable in my opinion. He's just not.
Yeah, and he should. He shouldn't be.
I mean, they honestly might not want Maxey. They have 3 guards. Shaded Sar, Anthony Simmons, and they just drafted Scoot Henderson. Maybe they wouldn't want him. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Dame would look great in red, white, and blue.
He would. He wouldn't look bad in blue and orange either, but not if we have to be trading our whole team for him.
I'm not looking to win a championship for 1 to 2 years with vets and then start all over. Like, why? You won.
What is it?
You won.
Yeah.
The whole point of this process that was perpetrated on us, this bullshit process, was to win a championship.
I mean, that's what you're there for, to win a championship. If you win a championship and then you have to go into the tank for a couple of years, fine, you won a championship. You think the Red Sox fans are mad at the Red Sox for winning a championship and then going into the tank? They did what they had to do to win a championship. Okay, and they're paying for it now, but you know what? They won a championship. So it doesn't. I mean, it's not like it doesn't matter, but the whole point is they did it. They got their championship, and that's the whole object of the ball game is you want a championship. Just getting to the playoffs is not good enough, especially for Philadelphia. It's not good enough anymore. They need to take the next step. And it's not about the finals, it's winning the whole thing. Okay, that's the whole point. That's the point of the exercise, folks. You want a parade. That's what you want. I mean, just like us Yankee fans, it's not good enough to get into the playoffs and lose in the LCS every year. Okay? It's not good enough to just get to the World Series. The point is to win. If you don't win, it's a bust. Okay? And they're running out of time with this group. They've got to do something to put themselves over the top.
Don 19. Fred VanVleet got $40 million a year for shooting under 39%. Somebody please explain. I can't explain the Fred VanVleet money. I can't explain the Jeremy Grant money. I don't understand contracts in the NBA. I don't get it.
Jeremy Grant, I don't get either. I mean, he is he the guy that the Knicks got drafted a few years ago?
Bruce Brown got a lot of money from the Nuggets. He went to the Pacers. He got a bunch of money.
I mean, he's okay. He's not a bad player, but some of these guys are just, well, whatever. This is what they do. So, if they get into trouble with the cap, that's on them.
All right, Brad, let's move on to hockey.
Okay,
Ryan,
now, your Flyers went out and signed Garnet Hathaway, who I happen to really like, but I don't know if he's really a fit in Philly. The only thing I would say with him is that I believe you signed to a 1-year deal, and he would be a very good trade target. You probably get yourself a nice 3rd-round pick for him, or maybe a 2nd-round pick at the trade deadline. But he's not going to make that big of a difference for them. But he's a real valuable, good player on a good team.
And they draft with 7 overall. They draft Matvei, Michkov out of the KHL. Looks like he's going to be in the KHL for a couple years and then come over eventually.
He's stuck there for 3 years. I personally don't think that was a very good idea. But I understand a lot of Flyer fans were attacking me, saying that we're going to get the next Sidney Crosby when he comes here. Here's the problem, guys. He's going to be in Russia for the next 3 years. You're not going to be able to control his ice time. You have no control whatsoever about anything he does. Okay? 3 years is a long time. He could get hurt. I mean, who knows what's going to happen with him in 3 years? Yeah, he could be Crosby, or he may not be allowed to ever leave, or he may decide he doesn't want to leave Russia. Who knows? That's the problem.
Well, hold on. You'd like to think that Briere and Keith Jones and the new Flyers team would make sure that he's motivated to come to the NHL, right? Before picking him.
True, but here's the thing. Remember, when he comes here, he's going to be on an ELC, which means he's going to be making rookie money, like $925,000 a year to start. It's going to be tough. I mean, if they can get him over here, great. If they can get over here, the sooner the better. But if they have to wait 3 years, I mean, that's why he fell down to the seventh pick in the first place. I mean, the guy probably would have been either a third or a fourth pick had it not been for all that. I mean, that's why he went down. I mean, listen, Fantilli, obviously Bedard was the first pick, and he's going to be a great player. I don't know why the Sharks passed on Fantilli. I'm sure the Columbus Blue Jackets are very happy about that. But the Sharks picked up a pretty good young talent, and we'll see. It's a gamble. It's a gamble. But you know what? If you're gambling, I guess the Flyers figure after 3 years, the rebuild's going to be over, and then they can bring him in, and maybe he can put them over the top, and they could be an elite team and a Stanley Cup threat. Maybe that's the case. Maybe that's how they're doing it.
Who should the Flyers have picked?
I mean, I'm trying to remember who was left. Honestly, I probably am not qualified to tell you that. I would have picked the defenseman. Somebody's doing fireworks out here.
They did get a defenseman with their second pick.
Yeah, no, I know they did. But they
also drafted another goalie in the second round, giving me more ammunition for this please trade Carter Hart campaign I've been running. I don't understand why we need a franchise goalie. The Flyers need a franchise goalie.
Because he fits in the timeline. That's the only reason.
How does he fit in the timeline?
Because
they're not going to be good for 3 years. Maybe
right.
2 years.
But he's still young. He's only 24 years old. Goalies don't even start reaching their prime till like 27, 28. Unlike regular players, goalies start getting really good around 28, 29, 30 years old. That's when they hit their peaks. They may not be as quick as they were when they were 21 or 22, but they learn the game and they learn the positioning and everything else. And they're just a lot better when that situation arises. So that's a tough decision. But you know what? If they can get themselves a huge haul of picks and maybe a couple of nice prospects, it wouldn't be the worst thing to do.
I think it's a no-brainer.
No, they haven't. I don't think they've made up their minds yet about what to do about him. I think they're gonna, go through free agency and then look and see what's out there and what they can do, and then start taking phone calls on Carter Hart. Because right now everybody's in flux and running around, and it's not. This isn't the time really to make a trade with him like that. Once all the goalies are signed, and then everybody wants it.
Brad, you were wrong because Michkov and the Flyers and his Russian team are working out the deal because he wants to be a Flyer so bad, but the details, I don't know. I heard 1 to 2 years he might come over.
Might. Let's see if it happens.
Well,
I'm not wrong.
KHL.
I'm not wrong yet. I'm just going by the terms of his contract right now. So right now he's signed for another 3 years in Russia. So and you also have the political climate to worry about as well, which it unfortunately shouldn't have anything to do with anything, but that's just something that could be a factor as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't. My feelings on it.
Look, as I said, if he comes over in a year, hey, then it was a great move. If he comes in 2 years, then it's a pretty good move. If you have to wait 3 years for him, it's not such a great move. I think tanking for 3 years is too many years. This year they're probably gonna. This year, they could end up with the first pick of the draft because they're very untalented right now. That's something you need to pay attention to. So if they do that, then they're going to end up with another supremely talented draft pick. But at some point they've got to be able to take these take the money that they're going to have and go out and sign some free agents. Let's see what they do. I mean, that's the thing. Right now they're still kind of in salary cap hell, along with my team as well. They've got to be able to figure out what they're going to do to change that.
Brian Swoop, Flyers need a few guys to stay to go through all of the bads and goods combined. Having a goalie that can do that, be confident, patient, compose is huge. Let's hope that will be Carter Hart. I mean, I watched the kid play, and I'm not like Mr. Goalie analysis, but I mean, I don't see him.
I'll tell you what, if you ask the
goalie.
GMs around the league, okay, a lot of GMs would grab him in 1 second. Do you not think he would be supremely better if he was on the Colorado Avalanche? Do you think he could lead the Avalanche to a cup?
Probably.
Because I think he could.
Avalanche are loaded.
Exactly. But you know who their goalies are?
But the Flyers aren't loaded.
Right, but again, he's
far from loaded.
But Carter Hart's only 24 years old. That's the whole point. He came up very, very young. He came up as a 20-year-old. And he's shown the ability to rise to the occasion and be a really good goalie. I just think if he was on a good team, you'd really see just how good he is. If I were the Flyers, I would try to keep him. I wouldn't be so quick to try to trade him. Because you know what you want it. Look, there's two positions. The two hardest positions to fill, Rob, in the NHL are a number one center and a number one goalie. Those are two of the most difficult positions to fill in the NHL. You got the goalie figured out. You don't have the center figured out. I mean, you tried with Hayes, and Hayes was never a number one center. He was more like a 2, and they overpaid for him severely, and that now he's gone. But they've got to be a little bit. I think the present organization, Keith Jones and company, I think they'll be smart about who they sign as a free agent, and I think they'll have the team in the right direction. I think they understand how to build a hockey team. Chuck Fletcher, his brains were up his ass. That's really all that can be said about him. And they also still are. Cole, you never know. Cole Knuble is
a stud. Oliver Bonk, he's a defenseman. They picked him with pick 22. Cole Knuble, he got picked.
Bonk's father was a pretty darn good hockey player too. I mean, Radek Bonk was really good. I'm sure his son is probably going to be a good player too, but you don't really know until they get to the NHL. That's the thing. It's hard to predict 18-year-olds playing in the NHL. It really is, because there's a big difference. They're still growing, and you just don't know how. You don't know what their bodies are going to be like by the time they get to 20 or 21. You just don't know. It's hard. It's really hard to draft guys. I mean, you can look at their ability, and I always think that if you have a guy who can really skate and is fast as hell, that those are the kind of guys I like. I also like size as well. I think the Flyers did well with their draft. And again, I'm not saying that they screwed up with the Russian. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is it's a gamble. And if you don't want to agree with me that it's not a gamble, you need to take your Pollyanna sunglasses off and understand it is a gamble. Now it could pay off. It could pay off really nicely. Look at how the Penguins gambled on Malkin. Okay, nobody thought that the Russians were going to let him go so quick. And the Russians only kept him for 1 year, and then he joined up with Sidney Crosby, and the rest was history. But that's the thing. You've got to. The Flyers have some young players. I mean, the guy they got in the trade for Giroux, I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Oh,
he was really, he's good, and you can see just how good he's going to be. I like Farabee. I think he's going to be really good. Your boy Bobby Brink, I think that guy's going to be a good player too. He just never. He got
Tippett. Owen Tippett.
Owen Tippett. Yeah, Owen Tippett is who I'm talking about. He's a good player. He's going to be real good. I mean, he's got everything. He's got the size. He's got a great shot. He can skate. I think that guy is going to be a real good player. I think you can build around a guy like that. So we'll see what they end up doing. Konechny, I think he's going to end up getting traded.
I'm sick of him. Every year he's supposed to break out and be this big time goal scorer. And
well, he was having a pretty good year until he got hurt. I give him that. But they could get a lot for him. I would think that he should be eminently available. Now, when it comes to Cam Atkinson, God only knows. God only knows. I mean, if he plays and he plays well and can stay healthy, he'd be a nice player to have and to keep for the young players to not only just look up to, but to learn how to play the game the right way, because Cam Atkinson does play the game the right way. So we'll see with him.
Yeah, and I think that's what Ryan Swoop is. You need a guy like Cam Atkinson. Like, you can't have all young players. Like, you got to mix it up a little bit.
No, you have to have a couple. You have to have a couple of. Well, that's probably why they signed Stahl. Stahl's a veteran. He's been around. He was with the Rangers for 10 years. I mean, he was in the Stanley Cup Finals. He's been in the Stanley Cup Finals twice. Last year, obviously, he was with the Panthers. He was with the Rangers in 13-14. I mean, the guy is a veteran. He's kind of a bit of a parking cone now, but I like it. Don 19, did the Rangers make any moves? Yeah, they did, actually. I was going to get to them. The Rangers picked up a lot of old players, but tough players. I love the guy they picked up from Winnipeg.
That's where they're at as a team. Like, you need some grit and some leadership to get you over the top.
Oh, exactly. I mean, that was very important for the Rangers. Look, I think the Rangers, they got older, but I do think they definitely made some really good moves. Again, when you can get guys for $850,000 like Blake Wheeler, Jonathan Quick, Branson, those are three very good players, and they're paying $850,000 each for them. So I think Branson will be the number 5 defenseman. He'll be playing with what's his name now? I can't remember these guys' names because it's not hockey season anymore. But he'll be out there with the 5-6 combination, and Bonino will be really good as a 4th-line center. He can win faceoffs. He's really gritty. I mean, he's a real tough player. And Blake Wheeler had 53 points last year. No, 52 points. I'm sorry. He had 52 points last year. You got him for $850,000. He's a right wing. He's tough. He can drop the gloves when he needs to. He'll go in front of the net. He's kind of an instigator as well. I mean, you knew he wasn't going to re-sign with Winnipeg. Winnipeg basically bought him out, stripped him of his captaincy, and then bought him out. Guy had 53 points last year. So and he's a right wing, so he'll probably play on either the first or second line, I think. So I kind of like what they did. And the Rangers are at the point now, they tried it last year with finesse, okay, and it blew up in their faces. And a lot of people were saying, including me, that they weren't tough enough last year. With the guys they signed, that's not going to be the case now. I mean, they've got some grit now, and it should be enough to keep them highly competitive in their division. They should make the playoffs, and we'll see, with the trade deadline where they're at and what they might need. And obviously they still have Shesterkin, who is a top-notch goaltender. Yeah, he's a top-notch goaltender. He's already won a Vezina trophy, and he got votes this year for it. Adam Fox has already won a Norris Trophy. He finished second this year, and he had a really good year. So, I mean, it's not like this team is void of talent. This team has a lot of talent. Panarin has got to play better, and he knows he's got to play better in the playoffs. And I think if I'm the Rangers, that's where I would put Wheeler, because Wheeler would be a good fit with him, and also their second line center Trocheck. I think that'd be a good fit. So then you have a couple of guys who are tough and like to mix it up, and Panarin will end up getting more room. So I think that's where it'll help. But I like what the Rangers did. They only had $12 million in cap space, and $6 million of it is going to have to go to Keandre Miller and Alexis Lafreniere. So really, they only had about $6 million to spend. So instead of getting one player like maybe Tarasenko for $6 million, they went and got a bunch of players who can help them in a lot of different ways. And that's, to me, was the smart way to go. I think Drury really did a nice job. Now, look, for him and for the Rangers, it's shit or get off the pot time this year. Okay, if they can't get to the Stanley Cup Finals this year, Drury may be out. So I would look to see what happens at the trade deadline for them, but they'll be fine. I'm not worried about them at all.
Sometimes these hockey teams, they take a while to get over the hump. Unless you're the Toronto.
Toronto is just.
Well, yeah, they never get it. But like Tampa for years.
Yeah.
Then when you think they're never going to do it, they step up. Florida, there was a lot of expectations on Florida the year before, and then they're sneaking as the 8th seed. They beat the Bruins, and they go to the finals.
Right.
The Capitals with Ovechkin, they disappointed year after year.
And then they finally beat the Penguins, and they won, and they ended up winning the Stanley Cup. I mean, and you could say the same thing about Vegas. They've been good for years since they came into the league. They finally got over the hump this year. I mean, it's not easy to win the first year you're in the play. I mean, look, 2 years ago, the Rangers got to the semifinals, the conference finals. So and honestly, that was a good team, and they did what they had to do. So they that was a team that achieved probably the maximum amount of of where they could go. Last year they didn't. Last year they underachieved. So obviously changes had to be made. And they've made some changes now. They're going to be a little tougher. The power play should be a little bit better because now they have Wheeler to put out there. Goodbranson had scored 40. Believe it or not, Rob, this guy Goodbranson had 42 points last year. He had 6 goals and 39 assists. No, 6 goals and 35 assists, I think. And most of them were on the power play. So you can actually they're going to have two legitimate units, and Trouba was not the greatest player on the power play. Well, Trouba did. He had a great shot, but that's really kind of all he did was just fire from the point and not try to set anything up. But Branson will be on in the second half of the power play, and their power play should really be good this year. I expect a lot of big things from it.
All right. A few minutes left here on the Sports Hounds. We will let's get into some baseball. Brad, you had a interesting week for the Yankees. A nice perfect game by Domingo Germán. Did you watch the game?
No, I actually fell asleep.
Well, they were out west, so like understand.
Yeah, I fell asleep, but they I woke up and missed the end, but I turned on the internet and it was all over the internet. I was like, oh, damn, I missed it. But you know what? Good for him. He did get whacked around today, but the Yankees have come back, and it was 3-0, and now it's 3-2.
Well, that was incredible.
Yeah, well, and the Yankee fans did give him a standing ovation when he got knocked out in the fourth inning. You don't see too many pitchers getting a standing ovation in New York when they get knocked out in the fourth inning. But if you pitch a perfect game, we'll let you slide. But I'm a little disappointed with how they played against the Cardinals. That was not good.
Well, the Phillies, they just lost a series to the Washington Nationals at home. They lost 2 out of 3.
That's pretty not understandable as well. I don't get the Phillies either. It seems like they can't score. When they do score, they score a shit ton of runs, and then they go back to not being able to score again. Yeah, they scored 19 runs on Saturday, and I don't get it. I don't get it with the Phillies. They should be better than this right now.
I mean, they've been playing really good. I mean, they've been winning series left and right. They're losing ground in the standings, though, because they keep going 6-4 in their 10 games, and Atlanta goes 9-1. Like, it's crazy.
Well, so as far as first place,
playing well, and they're losing ground.
Yeah, they're not going to win the division. They're going to end up having to go into the wild card again. But they've got good enough pitching so that they'll definitely be a major factor. And should be able to get into the LDS without a problem.
I mean, they're still looking for a replacement for Rhys Hoskins' production at the plate.
Well, yeah, listen,
they're going to need to get a bat. We had a poll question last week. Should the Phillies trade for a pitcher? Like, yeah, you can never have enough pitching, but I'm looking at it more and more. Like, you need a bat. And I still don't know what position. I still don't know what position they should trade for that bat. Like, do you just get the best bat you can and then go from there? Like, can Bryce play the field? Like, I don't know.
I would try to get a first base. I think it's easier to find a good bat at first base than it is finding a good bat at third, and let Bohm just play third. Let Bryce be the DH this year. Okay, let him heal up so he doesn't have to make any throws, and then you'll have him 100% for next year. He's not the same player this year. Unfortunately, that injury has kind of sapped him of his power. So, I mean, I think you have to go with the hand you're dealt, and I think the best thing for them is to let him DH. He's still hitting for a high average. He's still getting RBIs. But the power just isn't there. Maybe it'll come in August and September when he's more healed. But you got to give him credit because he came back a lot earlier than anybody thought he would. So let's see what happens with him. I think the Phillies will be fine.
I think the Phillies are going to be of the teams on that list. I trust the Phillies the most. And the Giants, I mean. They're the Giants. They're weird. They have Gabe Kapler, who we know in Philadelphia here pretty well. But they have good fundamentals. They have a good team. I don't think they're going anywhere. And the Dodgers, the Dodgers are going to make moves. If there's a move to be had, that's going to make them better. They're going to pony up and get it done.
Yeah, they will. They will. And they also have a terrific farm system, too. Any thoughts on where you think Ohtani's going to end up next season?
Well, I mean, you have to do everything you can if you're Anaheim or Los Angeles.
I'm still thinking. My prediction is either Seattle or the Dodgers. I think he's going to stay on the West Coast because that's what he wants.
Seattle? Can they afford that?
Oh, I think they figure out how to afford him.
I guess you kind of figure it out with a guy that good. I think San Francisco.
They can afford him too because I
kind of agree about the West Coast.
Yeah, I think he's staying on the West Coast. He doesn't want to come east. If he wanted to come east, he would have. If he wanted to come east, he would have signed with the Yankees. When he first came over, he didn't want to play in the East Coast. He wanted to play on the West Coast. So I'm thinking the Dodgers. San Diego. There's no way San Diego can afford him. Not when they're paying for all these other guys. Don, I think you're looking at $550 to $600 million for him.
I mean, I think 10 for 500 is like the starting point.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to cost more than that, though. I think it's going to be 12 for 600.
Whew.
Look, the guy is two players, Rob. He's the slugger, he's the great hitter, and he's the great pitcher.
Yeah, he's a $300 million hitter, and he's a $300 million pitcher.
Exactly. So
now, do you think like he does? Do you think he plays games with his contract and does like a 3-year high AAV so he can be a free agent again when he's 31?
No, I don't think he's still going to do that. I think he's going to go and he's going to do what Harper did. He's going to get as much money, as long a term as he can. He's going to want to stay on the West Coast, and most likely, I'm thinking, look. Is he the best pitcher in baseball? No, but he's definitely one of the top 5. Is he the best hitter in baseball? No, but again, he's one of the top 5, and he could always be the number one player in baseball in any given year in either one of those statistics. And if he ever wins a Cy Young and wins an MVP in the as a hitter, then what are we talking about here?
Yeah.
You're talking about Babe Ruth type of.
Well, what did he do? He won the MVP, right? Not the Cy Young yet.
Right. He hasn't won a Cy Young. If he ever wins a Cy Young and an MVP in the same year, I mean, what else can you do?
I mean, he probably should.
Well, he won
MVP. He won MVP, Rookie of the Year, Silver Slugger, 2-time All-Star.
Right.
So he's going to get bread.
Oh, I'm thinking 12 for 600. Because as you said, 300 for each. 300. He's a $300 million hitter. He's a $300 million pitcher.
So what's that? 600 divided by 12. That's
50 million a year.
Yeah.
I think that's what it looks like.
All right.
As much as I'd like to see him come to New York, or as much as you'd like to see him come to Philly, or the Red Sox fans think that, we have the money to get him, I don't think he wants to come east. I think he wants to stay out west.
I agree. All right, we're going to wrap up a little early tonight. Doug Mientkiewicz will be back next week. Sports Jeopardy's coming up at 9:30 here on A2D Radio. He's Brad Ryer. I'm Rob Brinkman. Happy 4th of July, everyone. Be safe out there. Happy birthday, America. Peace out, everyone.